Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Monday, August 5th, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the executive minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ plus community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
I am Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, the Minister of Connections. This is live, and then we are available on demand. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform and social media.
At Sunshine Cathedral, we're here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Nazarene theologian Reverend Thomas J. Oord faces trial for LGBTQ plus affirmation. The Reverend Thomas J. Oord, a renowned theologian and ordained elder in the Church of the Nazarene, faced a church trial on July 25th in Boise, Idaho. The trial stemmed from the allegations that Oord promoted doctrines contrary to the denomination's teachings and engaged in conduct unbecoming of a minister by advocating for LGBTQ affirmation. Reverend Oord stands accused of teaching beliefs that conflict with the Church of the Nazarene's stance on same-sex relationships, which holds that, and I quote, "the practice of same-sex sexual intimacy is contrary to God's will," end quote. He has also co-authored a book titled Why the Church of Nazarene Should Be Fully LGBTQ plus Affirming. It was published last year. This trial follows a similar case involving the Reverend Sheldon Kelly, who lost his credentials last year after contributing an essay to the same book edited by Oord. Kelly had called for more dialogue on the LGBTQ plus issues within the church. In response to the charges, Oord has publicly defended his stance through his book titled, My Defense Responding to Charges That I Fully Affirm LGBTQ plus People. He believes that love is central to Jesus' teaching. He has also noted that many scholars and Nazarene affiliate institutions probably support LGBTQ plus inclusion, but fear speaking out due to job security. First, I want to say kudos to Reverend Oord for doing this and taking his stance within the Nazarene Church. He, like many, I think, have often claimed at one place that, I'm here to make a change from within. Mm-hmm. And if my speaking out, if my living out, if my preaching out can make this a safe place for others, then I'm going to take that stance. Even in his writing, even with sadly for the Kelly who offered an essay in the same book and lost his credentials. And I think it's going to take more and more people like that in the Nazarene community to take that stance and step out, to create those affirming and safe places for people in that community. And I think that's what he is doing. He's creating that safe place for people to come, to have the conversation, to lead people to a place where they say, we're okay just the way we are. And there's nothing about us that's a sin. There's nothing about us that's damaging. And God loves us just as we are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know much about the Nazarene. I'm not Nazarene. I'm not Wesleyan. Usually, especially among Protestants, people want to claim some little sliver of Wesley. Not me. He's fine or whatever. I'm not mad at Wesley, but I'm just not Wesleyan. So I don't really have a lot of dogs in this fight, except for what I am is 100% queer. And so I'm always annoyed when anybody from any tradition, for any reason, wants to pick on or beat up on or demonize or dehumanize or demoralize queer people and those who love them. So just yay him. He's the hero of the story. that's without knowing much about Nazarenes or Wesley or affiliated with Wesleyanism, I can say, I'm often accused of saying things. Wesleyan theology, Charles Wesley, John Wesley, they founded the Wesley movement, Methodist Church, all that. That is the theology embraced by the Nazarenes. I do know that much. So that's why what are you talking about Wesley? Where did we get Wesley from? They're Wesleyan church, as are the Salvation Army and the United Methodists and the various other Methodists. That's why Wesley's important. Okay. But he is the hero of the story for speaking up for the marginalized, speaking up for the forgotten, speaking up for the downtrodden, speaking up for the underdogs. That's what Jesus does. That's what Jesus did. That's what Christians are meant to do. So he's the hero of the story. And for those who are Wesleyan or any kind of conservative, Protestant or whatever, I understand why you bristle at that, because you've been taught that. But I also know, no matter who you are, Catholic, Protestant, Mormon, whatever, that if someone hadn't told you that there was anything wrong with gay, if you had not been taught that, you would have never come to that conclusion on your own. If that had not been drilled into your head, it wouldn't have occurred to you. You'd see two boys playing together, two girls playing together, a boy and a girl. You wouldn't care. And then those kids growing up, two of them might actually decide they were special friends. I'm going to go to the prom or whatever, maybe get married later. It would never occur to you that anything was wrong with it. Just like when you were a kid and you had Uncle Frank and Uncle Tom and they lived together and you didn't know how they were both your uncles, and then later you did. But when it was just you were a kid, you didn't think a thing about it. So you had to be taught to be uncomfortable with gay people. And if you can learn, you can unlearn. You can learn something else. You can learn a new thing. So I don't have a Nazarene argument. I don't have a Wesleyan argument. I don't have any dogs in the Nazarene-Wesleyan fight. But gay is good. Queer is as holy as anything else. And if you were taught otherwise, you can learn a new lesson. And so good for him for trying to teach a new lesson to his community. They need to hear it.
Right, and I think that we're seeing that kind of thing within faith traditions now. I mean, we saw what happened recently with the Methodist Church splitting with the Methodist and the United Methodist, and they have split, and primarily because of LGBTQ inclusion. I'm not saying that that's going to happen within the Nazarene Church, but I really appreciate Reverend Oord and the other pastor, I don't remember.
Kelly.
Thank you. Pastor Kelly, taking these steps to affirm the value of all people. I think we're going to see this in more highly conservative faith traditions as well. It's happening.
Over the past week, we at this table have talked about a number of different areas where it becomes necessary for people to speak out. We talked about what's going on in Nigeria, and we talked about different ways that maybe things can change. And one of the things we talked about was that it has to happen within the faith community. The faith community has to be loud and strong in speaking against a lot of things that are harmful. So again, both pastors are doing God's work, really, within their world. And we talked about log cabin Republicans, how they seem to be cuckolded by their party and how they might be able to be more effective in pushing an agenda that screams for inclusiveness for everybody. And I don't understand how so many people mess this up. How do you not understand the basic message that our brother that we want to follow, that we want to emulate, has told us is the core of everything that we do? He said, love God. Yeah, you got to love God. But guess what? You have to love your neighbor. Every single one of your neighbors, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing. And that's a conversation that we have to have as often as possible and as loudly as possible. So I love that Oord and Kelly are out there in the front saying to their church, I'm going to pull you as much as I can into today's world. Yay.
Yep.
You know, one was willing to lose his credentials over
Yes.
this. And the other one's still willing to be out there fighting. And, you know, hopefully they can be that voice that's needed for such a time as this in this community that says, you know what, let's get together on this, people.
Right.
You know, we're hurting people by not allowing our folks to find full inclusion into this loving community. And if it's something that they found to be home and comfortable, then they're trying to make it be home and comfortable for others.
Indeed.
Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. And we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.